Welcome to the second session of softwares. Today we will be learning about the programming languages. Now, what are the programming languages? So, programming languages actually, you may say, the pattern of writing those electronic instructions. The software was an electronic instruction. So, pattern of writing those electronic instructions in a proper pattern, or you may say in a proper manner or a proper syntax, is known as a programming language. Now, when it comes to the programming languages, so there are three different types of the programming languages. First of all, it's a low level language or a machine understandable language or a language of ones and zeros, or you may say a binary language. That means that completely means actually a language that is understood by a system. Then we do have an assembly language. Now, assembly language is actually a midway language between a user and a computer, as it is utilizing mnemonics. Now, what are the mnemonics? Now, mnemonics means that it is utilizing some sort of the special characters. For example, it is utilizing hashtags, it is utilizing star-x, it is utilizing modular symbols. So these are known as the mnemonics. So an assembly language is a midway language between a user and a system. That means a high level language and a low level language. Now, high level language is a completely human understandable language. That means you and me can understand that high level language quite easily. Now, the examples of the high level language are, it could be C, it could be C++, it could be Java, sorry, it could be Python, it could be Prolog, it could be VB. So it could be any of the device, it could be SQL. So it can be any of the programming language that is understood by a human. Now, coming towards the pros and cons of the high level language and a low level. Now, at many places you are asked by the examiner that to compare the high level language and a low level language, or sometimes you may be asked to write the difference between a high level language and a low level language, or sometimes you will be asked to write the benefits of the high level language and the benefits of a low level language. Similarly, it goes for the low level language as well. Sorry, benefits for the high level language and drawbacks for the high level language. Okay, and similarly it goes for the low level language as well. Now, coming towards the pros and cons of a high level language. So number one, what is the pro? They are saying they are easier to read because it's in human understandable format, obviously, but the programs could be larger. Programs might take more space, more memory capacity. Program might take longer to execute. So these are the disadvantages of a high level language. Takes longer to execute, makes use of the special hardware. They are utilizing the special hardware as well. Then they are easy to debug. Why they are easy to debug? Because it's an human understandable language, so you can take out the bugs easily. Similarly, easier to maintain program. That means you can just correct those programs quite easily by your own. Then comes with the advantages and disadvantages of a low level language. That means a machine understandable language. So obviously that will be taking a less space. They will be quite faster. The execution time will be quite less as compared to the high level language. So let's see what they are saying. Can write a code that perform a task. Okay. Takes less time to execute. Consumes less space in memory because it is already written into the binary language. So you do not need to convert it. So obviously less memory will be required. Coming towards the disadvantages, so consumes more time to write and debug program because in the binary you are unable to write, so you need to learn few other things. Difficult to understand by the human. Okay, human can't understand a binary language. Okay. Now coming towards the language translator. Okay, now we are saying that a human understands a high level language whereas the machine understands a binary language. Now obviously there is a language barrier between two of the things. So how those two of the things are going to communicate with each other? So there is a language translator. Now what do you mean by the language translator? Language translator is an application software, or a not an application, sorry, utility software that is actually converting a high level language to a low level language. That means a human understandable language to a machine understandable language, and back from machine understandable language to human understandable language. So now when it comes to the high level, the language translators, so there are three types of the language translators. They include with the compilers, interpreters, and assemblers. Now what are the compilers? Compilers are the programs that are converting the entire program at once. For example, This is the entire program, starting from this place to this place. Now they will be converting this entire session at once, and they will be saying, okay, now there these are the errors, and on these lines, okay, now you need to correct those errors. Once you just correct those errors, now the compiler will be creating the object code of that file. Now what do you mean with the object code? Object code means that the compiler will write the program or will translate the program into the low level language. So any program that is written in a low level language is known as an object code. Okay, so once the compiler has translated or converted it into the low level language code, so you do not need the compiler again and again to execute your application, because the object code is already there. Whereas when it comes to the interpreter, so interpreter is something, it will be going instruction by instruction or line by line. Okay, now first line, that's fine. Second line might be there is an error, so it will halt over there and it will ask you to correct that error. Once you are going to correct that error, it will restart from the initial. Okay, now line number 1 is fine, line number 2 is fine, 3 is fine, 4 is fine. For example, 5 there is an error. So it will halt again, it will ask you to correct that error, and once you are going to correct that error, it will now again start from the initial to check. So it is time consuming, as well as it is not going to create the object code or the object file. So each time you need to convert or you need to execute that particular software, so you need the interpreters. So do remember, object code are those that are written in the low level language, and source code are those that are written in the high level language. So coming towards the interpreters, assemblers. Now assembler's purpose is to convert a program written in an assembly language to a low level language and vice versa. Now there are few of the advantages and disadvantages of the compilers and the interpreters as well. So first of all, coming towards the interpreter. So they are saying, because it is converting line by line, so they are saying easier to debug and test program during development. Programs can not be executed without the interpreter, as I just told you about it. Easier to edit programs during development. Okay, edit and debug are different. Debug means that you are taking out the error. Edit means you need to amend something into that. Programs can take longer to execute, because why they are, because it is converting line by line, so they might take longer to execute. Whereas when it comes to the compiler, so compiled program is executed quickly because the object code is already over there. Compiled program takes less space in memory because there is no need for the translation. Compiled program does not require a compiler again. Whereas when it comes to cons, so there is only a single con, takes longer to write test debug program during development because it is a high level language. Coming towards an IDE. Now first of all, what is an IDE? So IDE is basically a platform where you are going to code anything, where you're going to write the code. So that particular platform is known as an IDE. Now there are few of the features of an IDE. What are those features? The features are the code editors. Now what do you mean the code editor? Where the place where you are writing the code, so it will be editing the code by its own self, asking you to do that. Okay, what do I mean by that? That means it will be giving a suggestion by its own, but it will be asking you to do that. A translator, that means it should convert a high level language into low level language and vice versa. Runtime environment, that means you can execute that particular code that you have developed with a debugger, that means you can solve the errors in that as well. Auto completion, it is something like when you are writing anything on a chat, so as you write 2 or 3 words, so it gives you the words, okay, now this word you need to write, so this is known as the auto completion. Auto correction, if there is any sort of the error in the spelling, so it makes a auto correction. Error diagnostic, if there are any sort of the other errors, so it will be diagnosing those errors and it will be asking you to correct those errors. And auto documentation and pretty typing, that means it is making a proper indentation, as well as it is giving different colors to different lines into different statement, so that it could be more visible that where you have utilized which statement. So this was all for the software. It was quite a small topic. See you in the next session, and the next session will be regarding the internet and its uses. Thank you so much.